Sarah, proper public notice was made for this meeting.
Yes.
And as I confirmed, we do have enough for quorum. Did everyone get a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting? Don't remember. Were they?
No. No. No.
Okay.
No.
I'm feeling better. Okay, so we'll have to move that next month. All right, moving on to action item number 1, Sarah.
Action item number 1 is consider and discuss a variance request to the manufactured home ordinance. The applicant, Ms. Sylvia Smith, is here. And it's to consider and discuss a variance request to be placed on 515 South Ann Lot 2. Let's see. So here, Ms. Chapa is requesting the variance to the ordinance. She owns 515 South Ann. It's a 2-lot property. And she is wanting to place, here's the 2-lot property. And so if I'm not mistaken, the manufactured home was here on the corner. And she's really just going to move it to this lot here that she currently owns.
Go back to the screen, Sarah.
Which one? This one here?
Yes, ma'am. Does she own that lot right there on the corner?
No, the one with the 2 red dots, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
What's the corner? What is it again?
This here is Ann, and what is this street here? I have it here. Martin Luther King.
Oh. Ordinance.
Yes. So the ordinance does state that we do a one-time change out. And if there is not a manufactured home there, that there's to be one placed there, only in manufactured home subdivisions.
So have a manufactured home, designated locations for them.
Correct.
I don't prescribe one.
Correct. Because currently on this lot, it's vacant.
So your application for a hardship here is that you purchased this lot originally from the county.
No.
What?
The manufactured home.
Manufactured homes. Oh, sorry. Not regular person.
Someone with the county said that you can move.
I got a hold of some county, and I also got with the that auction the mobile home off, and they cleared everything for me because I specifically asked them if I would be able to move it within the city limits, and they told me there would be no problem. And it came to be that after I bought it, there was quite a bit of problems.
Yeah.
When did you purchase this?
I bought it in November.
Since that's a big problem.
Yeah, I bought it in November.
It with the ordinance that we have in place, it's it was placed there so that manufactured homes would be in a rural community type environment instead of having a rain border home and rain and water home and so on and so forth. That's why that was put in place.
We also have restrictions on the manufactured data.
Yes.
And does this fall into that restriction as well, or is it the variance to that as well?
Yes, it's, how old is the home?
It's a 96.
It's 6. Be 16 years.
16 years, 10 years more.
That'll be in 10 years. It was 10.
Yeah.
It was 10.
So the 60-year-old.
But I was thinking we had.
I was going to say,
It's a 99, right?
Your application
I think it's a 99. Yeah.
but still.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So where is it right now? It's right in front of the courthouse.
on that corner lot.
Yes, right on the corner lot.
Okay, that's,
And the county judge, he's like, I want it moved now, but like, things have changed that I was not aware of.
Yeah.
I was advised that this new ordinance came into place in December. I bought it in November. And so therefore I was hoping that could get grandfathered in, you know. Where I'm gonna, where I would like to move it, there's another mobile home right next to my home. Right next to it, and so I'm wanting to put it just right next door. It's just like a block away,
Yeah.
1 block away.
And it's kind of a twofold request. You're asking for based on a lot that's not currently applicable to the ordinance. So we would be taking this lot and turning it into manufactured home lot currently
Mhm.
as of today. And then allow you to then another one and the ordinance. And then the other problem is that this is. And we really. So, and you still have to get all the hookups and everything to go, but I'm worried about the actual structure being put in, and the people coming contesting that we allow 20 and 25-year-old units, which is not the intent of it. It's,
I already spent the money on the hookups. It was like $2,500 I had to pay the city to hook up the water and the sewer line and all that.
the lot's already set up. For
No, the lot's been set up, yes.
well, it has water and sewer taps that's
Yeah.
installed on that property. It was done prior to the street and drainage improvements.
Okay. That one.
But it can be used for single family housing.
Yeah.
It's got taps ready to go.
Yes.
And with the proximity to the two locations. What we're looking for, do something like this, I worry that it set a nasty precedent for us. So what it would look like as far as the enforcement, if we,
I'm more concerned about that. I don't know, and set of precedents, where we accept this one.
yeah,
I don't want that. We can knock them down before.
yeah, very uncomfortable, less than 6 months after we moved through with this new ordinance, if we needed back to that.
So it looks like even under the old rule, I don't think the 50%. rule-
Yeah, and I did explain that as well.
Yeah.
That even under the order, it's not 50% because we did, that's why I pulled up the Google Maps. There is one here, and I guess the current one is here, but the rest are, I mean, they're residential.
If you didn't have. a-
Dwellings.
I understand we had this plan for our ordinance, but the previous ordinance. Right. I think, this is. It's not the biggest thing, it's just. We passed the ordinance in November and you did something in December that you had already had approved. This is,
You passed your ordinance in December?
no, but I'm saying you found an ordinance. in November for December. I don't have the date.
Well, it was an amendment to the
There was
ordinance.
an amendment.
Yeah.
But
Is
you
there
wouldn't have
ordinance?
been able to get your plans approved
Under the old
last year under the old one. You restricted further since then.
Mhm.
So it's not just a matter of bad timing. It's a matter of the whole ordinance. And I think the original ordinance that you still wouldn't have got approved for is several years old.
Oh, yeah, that's,
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't know who the county individual you spoke to with the auctioneer.
Mhm.
They obviously had, you know, solid motives to get rid of this, but
Oh, yeah.
the city never would have approved that.
Mhm.
So I don't know who they spoke to. or who-
Well, the county, because the mobile home belonged to the county supposedly.
Mhm.
It
Maybe
belonged
it's-
to the county, but when it came down to fixing paperwork, the county itself was in the wrong because the title was not, it was not even yet titled under the county. So it's like,
The previous owner of the owner of that lot that sits on now. The grandfather. Who's allowing it to be moved to any lot of the city.
well, the lot belongs to the county.
Yeah.
That lot in the corner belongs to the county. And the county wanted it cleared up. So what they did is they went ahead and contracted with the auctioneer and advised, hey, we own it. We need to get it moved. We need to sell it. They auctioned it off.
Yeah.
But with a pretense to myself, as I do my homework. But apparently, I thought the county, hey, they knew what the city restrictions were, and they told me, yes, you can move it.
There are a few.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, there is. Yeah.
There are locations.
Yeah.
Yes.
Too.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's not like they sold you something that's usable.
Yeah.
It's just not usable for the intended value.
Mhm. Because it's taken me quite a bit. Look at where we're at. We're in a new year and I just finally got the paperwork straight from the county.
Yeah.
Because they said they owned it, but yet the deed was still under the former owner and they sold it. Yes, no, not a tax sale. Mhm. No, so then they sold it, but then they had to get a title company to clear that out. Because actually it wasn't still not even titled to the county. So it's just a mess. It was a mess.
Unfortunately, if there were better circumstances, I'd be comfortable going through with this. The manufactured home and. Yeah, I'm not comfortable shortly after we increase our restrictions to the setting
Mhm.
back present. And if the times difference, time for doing that, we might be able to do this, but I personally. I'm sorry, we couldn't have the better
Mhm.
plan for that, but there may be some locations around the county that this would be a movable manufactured home for.
Well, that would be at an additional expense to myself. Of course, having to purchase other property. And you ain't talking about $1,000 or $2,000. You're talking about quite a bit of money. So,
Okay, quite a bit of discussion here. But, do we have a motion to either stay with our,
I think I have to deny the request for variance or a motion to deny the request for variance.
so we got a motion to deny the request for the variance? Any more discussion?
Yeah, I have a problem with it because, I mean, she's out of a lot of money.
Yes.
It's nothing we can put in there for somebody else not to come along and do what she did. I hate to see her lose that much money. I mean, if you're talking about in Brook Hollow Estates or something like that, but it's already a trailer down there is what I'm having a problem with. I mean, if you're saying Oak Grove, Brook Hollow Estates, what I'm saying, but it's a trailer already down there, so we telling her she can't move an existing trailer down there next to a trailer already there. I don't think that's right, me personally, because I have a trailer, which is about 4 or 5 blocks from where she's moving.
Well, as Justin had mentioned before, before the ordinance was amended last year, we still had the 50% rule. And as you stated, there is one manufactured home on that block. But it still wouldn't comply with the previous ordinance.
Yeah, so we telling her she can't move her trailer down there
That's
because somebody else might come in there, is what I'm saying, and set up a precedent because she did it when she's already got a trailer there. So you're looking at the same thing. That somebody can already come in and say, hey, she's already got a trailer there. So yeah, I have a problem with it. I really do. I really do.
She doesn't have a manufactured home there.
Not on that property.
No.
She doesn't.
This is talking about putting it to a new property.
it's right, the mobile home, the other one is right next to the home that I have there. Right next to it. So the mobile home would be within 100 feet, you know.
Well, it still falls under the 50% rule that we had previously before adopting the one back in November. Or
And what
December.
that was, in case you're not familiar, what the old ordinance said, that if greater than 50% of the block already has mobile homes, then it was allowed. But in this case, it still wouldn't have met the 50% rule because it's only one. And there's what, 6 blocks?
If
6
you
blocks.
had a trailer on the location, we allow for a newer one to come in. But taking a lot that's not set up for manufactured home and then enabling it for manufactured homes. And like you said, if this was Ricala or Luke Rover, these places that don't have a manufactured home and somebody wanted to add one, our rule is they cannot. You cannot go from housing lot to a manufactured housing, but stick it breaking or stick built, however you say it, broken more. And and so if we enable her to do this on this lot, there's nothing precluding anyone from any lot in town from doing it. And our rule was a 50% rule, and we found that that was hard to enforce and not really getting where we wanted to be. So if she was in a neighborhood that had a 50%, under the old rule, she would have been able to have it. But with this new one, it's just not a neighborhood that's designed. We have manufactured home parks specifically for this.
Cause you have a mobile home down there on Ann Street, right?
There is a mobile home there already on Ann Street.
Then it's another one around the corner.
There's
on
another
Virginia.
one around there, yes. I paid quite a bit. There's a lot of money here they're talking about. The mobile home itself, when I purchased, like $6,000. And then $2,500 for the tap. And then if I have to move it, I'm not gonna be able to move it here locally. I'd have to travel that mobile home all the way to Nueces County. That's gonna cost me like $5,000 more. Money which I don't have now, money which I'm gonna have to explain to the judge, or he's gonna have to explain to me, who am I gonna hold liable now? Because you gave me the impression that I would be able to
Or do you
move
have-
it within
do you
the
have
county.
something? I guess they told you.
Yeah, I spoke to the auctioneer. You know, and the auctioneer is in communication with the county judge. Just last week, they spoke. And I'm more than sure that I'm gonna hear it from the county judge, hey, we need to have this moved. Well, then from the county judge and the county commissioners, I need an explanation. Why was this even sold, put up to be sold if you didn't even have clear title? You know,
Titles, it is inclusive for items purchased. Not gonna be intended to have it.
And it can also be placed in a manufactured home park within the city.
There are places that it would be placeable in.
yes, I could move it there, but what, something that I clear own, I have a lot that I own. That you're saying you can move it to a mobile home park and hey, start forking out every month $450 or $500. Where does that make sense to me? Where does that, take care of me when I have a vacant lot?
Right.
It's just, I just feel it's not right.
At this time, modular, unless recommended by planning and the council, but at this time, modular homes and light frame construction homes are allowed to be built or placed on that property.
That wouldn't necessarily negate that we have the property. The water tap is still usable here, the utilities are usable, but
Right.
I understand this is not an ideal situation. But again, even under our previous ordinance, this wouldn't have been something that we would typically got through. So I can tell you, you started this endeavor with bad information. And as sorry as I am for your situation, it doesn't fall to us to rectify. And it's, like I said, it's a dangerous precedent. It kind of defeats all the work we've done over the last few years, with ordinances, adjustments. We've had other people come in and ask for similar things that have been denied on the basis of these same rules. And it's not fair to them either to then enable you to do it because someone at the county misled you potentially. And you try to sort that with the county or the auctioneer. I don't really have a remedy for you. I understand your frustration, but we have gone through manufactured housing before and
this is one first person to come before.
exactly, and it's yeah, this isn't the first time something similar to happen, but not every lot has every use available to do it, fortunately. And yeah, like I said, I'm not comfortable making any kind of motion to pass this. Again, motion to deny it, but.
So we still have a motion to deny the variance.
Yeah, it's a frustrating situation.
You got a lot of money.
Well, and again, it's not the intention of them,
Well-
her intended use of the money, but she's not necessarily just burning the dollars out there. And your lot has.
It could be utilized somewhere else, but
Yeah,
it, in the interest of the codes that are in place, I think that my personal belief is that refusing this is the best thing for the board at this time.
Yeah.
That's my recommendation.
yeah. Again, and if you're not gonna be happy with our assessment, you can try to take it to the
Yeah,
county.
you can take it to council.
No, I understand that, but Of course, y'all have the final decision. You can decide whether go ahead and grandfather, you know.
Yeah.
It'll be going to council next week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Council can over.
If they were the ones that passed the ordinance, but maybe they have the option for the board, maybe they contact the county. And sort of have a place for it. This would be all of us here today.
Okay, we're ready to vote on this.
Yeah, motion.
Motion to 9. Opposing this, all in favor? 9. Votes. Motion passes. Sarah, item 2. I'm sorry, Miss.
It's okay.
Trying to fit in what the codes are in place and trying to make sure it's followed.
Okay. Item 2 is to consider and discuss approval of a conceptual apartment complex to be located on 206 Van Orden Street. The legal description for the lot is Blassingham subdivision, lot 1, acres 1.599, property identification number 81143. So let's see.
Where's it located?
This is, here's where, right here is Van Orden. Yeah,
Back behind Rofi Tire, kind of across the street from Mexico, where Miss Lacy used to live.
Contracts.
okay.
Okay, all right. I know where we're at. Yeah, I was quite impressed by the building. You with these people?
No, sir, I'm just gonna sit.
Yeah, here.
Steve?
Yes, this project, we have 60 apartments. We already have 5 apartments and we already have the license and everything to have that one there. And this project is coming for 60 apartments. But we coming down because we talking about the parking lot and everything.
There wasn't quite enough room for parking for 60.
And we're coming down to 53 now. And this is the first the first step because we have all these projects we don't have for security and all the other frames not yet. We're waiting for your decision first, just in case you say it's okay. Well, we can start the second step to make all the kind of the design for water, electrical, and all kind of.
What about
Difference.
fire protection? Look at that.
Yeah, they're gonna have to invest some money into extending the 6-inch water line.
So my primary concern really locked in was parking, which you guys have already addressed. So that's wonderful. That's the problem that has some different parking complexes. I think that's a dead end road there.
Exactly.
Easily to jet.
Yeah.
How does this fit within our plan? Let's see.
So it is a commercial property and then it's surrounded by residential.
There's a fact that we're
Mhm.
So it's fit within our conceptual plan.
Yes.
We're gonna talk about some more landscape stuff later. Are they aware of kind of our
Yeah.
design specs in that direction? Just can bring greenery. That's all the exhibit has nice.
Mhm.
pictures. Yeah, you know, again, I don't think that's exactly what it'll look like when it's done. I don't see a lot of these guys.
100% ain't the same thing. Yeah, it's something different for this county and it's pretty good because we have a lot of opportunity for apartments. That's why we try to make something different and we try to give very good prices and everything.
And again, I mean, what you're doing tonight is just
Conception.
approving the conceptual idea and that this would be an approved place for multifamily.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, as far as the concept goes, I think you guys have got the experience, you've got quite a bit of an exhibit here. This is more than I was expecting to see when I read the initial exhibit. And I think as far as the multi-family complex in that area, we've spoken in, I don't know if it's planning or maybe a different meeting, but we've spoken about that area before, and we kind of hope that turns into, and this is a wonderful use space.
Mhm.
So as far as a nice multi-family set up. And they're not exactly on the main road, which is a little bit less of a traffic issue. You got a wealth of parking. I think it's a very nice area. So,
And the first floor, we have one laundry for all the apartments. And we have a reception too for the apartments. And we try to,
The doors are inside too.
yes, sir.
The hall.
Exactly,
Yes, that's much safer.
exactly. That is more safe for my
Yeah.
people there.
and you guys at the office.
They have a good common area.
Nice with my house. Nice. Very nice. Gonna hold you to these. Yeah.
And add the forest back there too.
You know, we can do legally, we won't earn. I like that, man. Are you gonna plant all those trees in the back?
Exactly, everything.
Wow.
Okay, so, we got a exceptional proposal. I hear any motion.
Yeah, a motion to approve the original concept design for multifamily use and probably great. Great, you guys have not, you guys already addressed the parking. We're gonna-
We addressed the water, water unit,
Issues there.
fire, food, address.
Okay, well, wonderful. You guys don't have any additional. Yeah, that's great. So I should approve. Yeah. That's great.
Welcome, welcome to the team.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, Sarah, what's item number 3?
Okay, item number 3 is to review and discuss proposed additions and updates to the current sign ordinance.
And let me start by saying, that where this is coming from is, we're on target to make application to, an organization called Scenic Texas for a scenic city designation for the city of Port Lavaca. The deadline is, the end of this month, April. What it is, it's a, and I don't have all my notes that I had at the workshop last week, but it's an organization that's basically, it's a nonprofit organization that started with the vision of Lady Bird Johnson, trying to beautify Texas. And they've continued that legacy, and they help cities create beauty in their public spaces. You know, right of ways, along roads, in parks, in again, public spaces and along city streets and Texas streets. And so one of their initiatives is this certification to cities called Scenic City. And they've got their levels that you can get certified. And once you get in there, in the certification system, they are a resource to help us go even further, to do even more. It's also, it's kind of a good point to advertise yourself as a scenic city, something that you can, put on, they'll have it on their website, that we can put on our website. It's something to help attract people, coming to Port Lavaca, knowing that we take pride in what our city looks like. And we have ordinances and enforcement that goes along with that.
2 things, comprehensive plan meeting we had a little while back, Jaime alludes to me. There was talk about looking into some resources like this for city designations, community designations, things like that. And
Right.
seeing what kind of resources there were in getting some of these designations to increase tourism and pride in the city. And
Right.
I think specifically in the comprehensive plan, there was a review of like beautification and sign ordinance.
Yes.
So this
Yeah.
is like kind of a twofold.
This is
goal.
right. This goes along with that. What, all I'm trying to do right now is make application to at least get the minimum qualifications in, because it's very extensive. I mean, to get, and I don't want to grab too much because it won't be enough for us to swallow initially. So looking at the minimum requirements for signs, and our sign ordinance as it is pretty well does generally comply with their minimum requirements, except we need to clarify a couple things and get a little bit more specific on a couple things. So they require, let me see if I got that. As far as signs go, one of the requirements is on-premise sign ordinance. We have to have strict limits on size, placement, which we do. I mean, ordinance already gives, the size and where we can put them on the lot. But
they have guidelines for that, or they just require strict?
They're not really, they give us samples of what other cities are qualified to have, but no, I mean, once, you get in the program, then they can help have discussions. They don't have like, here, adopt this and you're good to go.
That's what I was curious.
They did give me, I mean, I've got samples from other cities that have qualified, but there's no one size fits all thing. So bottom line, we just need to make sure that our ordinance limits the size, placement, and quantity of the signs for business. Right now, our ordinance doesn't really address quantity. And particularly, we realize that the void we have in our ordinance has to do with these pennant signs that we want to talk about. All permit signs require permits separate from the building permit, which they do. It does require separate building permit. And again, this is the minimum. And then they say, the more restrictive, the more points that you're awarded. At least the minimum, this is what I'm trying to make sure you get. Also, no permits are allowed to be issued for new outdoor general advertising on premises devices, which our ordinance does. But to clarify it, I think we're proposing to call them off-premises signs. Right now, they're identified as billboards. If you go and look at the definition of billboard, you kind of make your way around to realize it's saying the same thing, but we wanted to be a little more clear. And this is whether traditional signs or vehicles employed solely for the purpose of outdoor advertising, which I didn't even know was a thing. But apparently it is a thing. And so the ordinance needs to specifically restrict that for somebody that brings a vehicle in for the sole purpose of driving around advertising. I mean, you can still have a vehicle that advertises your business or whatever, but not as.
Why do we not have some of these things in here? It took me by surprise. I've actually seen a few examples of some of the things that restricts, and it never clicked to me when reviewing the sign ordinance.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was a thing. So those are the main, I think the main thing we wanted to talk about regarding the signs, again, is the pennant signs. We did discuss this with council and those in attendance at the workshop last Monday. And I think the general consensus was they were more concerned with making sure that we're regulating the quality that these pennant signs, as soon as they start getting ripped up or start looking bad, they're taken down more so than the quantity. But we still need to specify a quantity. I think what we've got in here, we've got 3 per 150 foot frontage with one additional every 100 feet. I mean, just going around town, initially we were talking maybe, there's some cities honestly that say 1. I figure we get a whole lot of pushback if we did that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Two might be workable, but there's still a lot of places that are using greater than 2, 3 or so, and they don't look bad, and so I don't have.
Police said, Joe.
Huh?
There's no police. Like, sure.
Joey?
Code enforcement.
Yeah. Yeah, he's doing it right now already. We just don't limit the size, the number, but they do regulate, they've got to stay nice looking. As soon as they start getting tattered, he gets up there and you guys got to take it down.
Say we're respectful like this time of year
When it's really windy, right? Yeah.
It looks not pretty good.
But I'm thinking, clearly there should be a maximum amount or an amount allowed for so many other people. And then the more friends you got, allow some more. But what that number is, you know, that's up for discussion, but I mean, personally, we've seen several around town that they've got 3 and it doesn't seem that bad. Maybe even 4, maybe, 4 for the first 200 feet. I don't know, I think the other thing to think about, what I was thinking about is, we are in a coastal area where we are looking for tourism. And so, the flags that we see, that's sort of the ambiance of that to some extent, right? So I don't think we want to prohibit them as long as they're looking nice.
I was just thinking about them, you have the pennant flags.
Right.
And then you have just a flag. And
a flag, a flag, if it's an American flag, it doesn't count, right? If it's an American flag, that doesn't count. But you can still have a flag for if it's advertising flag.
So it becomes a pennant.
It's a flag/pennant, yes.
Yeah, and the one thing I keep in mind, I try to keep thinking about is the bait shops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that they stay in compliance. They have to put their flag, but let you know what kind of bait they have. But I think one of my concerns would be, like Jody was talking about, trying to figure out how to regulate how many pennant signs they can put on the property. But I think also we need to consider spacing in between as well.
Well, and I can tell you in Portland, and this might be an idea. Portland, I noticed they allow 1 for every 25 feet.
And that's kind of the number I was looking at. 20.
That's an easy measure.
That might work.
1 every 25 foot or 1 every 20 foot or something like that.
Because I know when you're going down the road 30, 40 miles an hour and you got pennant signs that are 5 foot apart, you can't read all of them. So it's more of a distraction.
Like most of your bait shops, they have them in rows, so they're
Right.
running back instead of running down. But
And then the other thing to think about too is, again, looking at the argument for that some people may not, like pennant signs perhaps, but, a new business coming in, to put up a permit sign is a big investment. And, they may not make it. And if, after a year or two and they don't make it and we're stuck with another abandoned sign, which we're going to talk about too.
Yeah.
We're trying to not avoid that.
A lot easier to take a stake out of the ground.
Right, then
I still have the chunk of concrete that's 10 feet deep that just has a pole sheared off. You can't get that out. It's not a sign anymore, but it is a bit of a sign.
But on that topic, one of the other things we've got in here, which this is not part of the minimum requirements for this, but I thought it's been something I know I've been thinking a lot about. And it will gain us more points, clearly, because a lot of cities do have this, is some, clarity on abandoned signs or obsolete signs. And that what we've got right now is if they haven't been used as advertising for a year, but
That's the recommendation.
a year or 6 months or a year, whatever we want to say, after that, they've got to be taken down.
Yeah.
Now, I think this is what I was thinking when I told you there was something I was remembering. What I got to thinking is that, okay, if a business, say like the old Lax building, right? The old Lax building has a big sign out front. It's not being used for advertising anymore, but the building is for sale. In my mind, there should be a way that as long as they have a face and it's maintained, the sign kind of goes with the building. I don't think we would necessarily need to force them to tear that sign
There
down.
is something to be said about that because.
But I don't want just a vacant sign. I want like a face at least.
Like a face sign and even just something as simple as 4 or 5 cents.
Something.
They're very.
What we're trying to get away from is like our 2 shopping centers where the top sign blew out in Hurricane Harvey and they still haven't been put back
Yeah,
there.
I have a sign that doesn't work. It's an old gas sign.
Yeah.
And we haven't sold gas in over 6 years, so we got our gas.
And it just needs to be chopped off.
I can't do much with it.
Right.
And it's. And.
But you don't necessarily have to dig it out of the ground, just cut it off.
I thought about repurposing it. Yeah, but I have a point, right? We just. It took that long to get my roof fully done. And so, yeah, and, you know, there's a million factors to that. But, the sign is definitely the second priority to the roof.
But again, the timing on this is pretty quick. I mean, again, I'm gonna take a first reading to council next Monday and a second reading to our workshop later in the month. Because in order to really, for me to count this in the application, it needs to be adopted before the end of April. And if I can't make that, I'm not even gonna apply. It costs $1,500 to apply. I mean, if we can't make it work, we'll work on it to do it for next year. But I'm close enough that I thought it's worth the good old college try. See if we can get it in this year.
Yeah, we talked about selling the sign. What do you need a month, dude?
Well, your idea, recommendations, what, what are your thoughts? If you like that 25 foot, every 25 foot or?
Now, like this, 25 foot. We've had an issue with time.
Well, now, we're not proposing any changes right now to that unless we want to go to 25 feet or
We did recommend for 30 feet.
30 feet. Okay.
Because that's typical construction for structure right now is what we have.
And right now it says 20.
20.
Yeah,
20.
6'6", you have a 20 feet to 30 feet.
Okay.
We talked in that meeting with prosperity signs about the corridor of 35 having its own specific designation for height. That was, you're shaking your head, you remember what I'm talking about. So.
What was that, 35 feet?
I think that
35
I thought it was-
For everyone.
Change for everywhere else.
Yeah.
30 small.
What are the prospectus?
I think it was 30.
Maybe
Pretty
35.
sure it's 30.
Whatever that is.
The Walmart's
Yeah.
across the street where it's saying, hey, was that?
Whatever
We
that.
wanted to get a uniformity down the floor.
Okay, so we would leave it as it is, but then have a special, have a designation if it's on Highway 35, that limit would be whatever, 30 or 35, whatever we determine. Prosperity.
That was we attempted to set a precedent there to take to council, and I guess this would be taking it to council.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that was before I was working here, so.
Yeah.
And there were some different sketches there, yeah, so whatever the prosperity height came out at.
That's what,
35.
That's what we recommended now.
It's the same as the Walmart one across the street. That was the 35 Florida press we said.
and I can make a comment here that, if you notice when, Burger King came in, they came in, they didn't have any problem putting a sign at 20 feet, didn't come in, and ask for a variance or anything, but read our ordinance, put it in, and they were happy.
It looks fine. Yeah, it looks fine.
Their sign looks very nice.
Yeah.
We talked about abandoned signs, need to clean those up.
I was a little confused by something I read in the definitions. I don't think it was A-frame signs, but it was. I think it was A-frame signs, it was outside of the building, temporary. Oh, shoot.
Freestanding would be the A-frame.
Is that
Thought we did.
A-frame
Mhm.
temporary?
And those are,
Like the sandwich signs.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a restriction there where they couldn't be near the doors, the way, I couldn't figure out where.
Mm,
That was a little.
On private property.
Well,
And you can't.
From the door, you can't stick it out.
Well, you can't. Right, well,
Okay.
You couldn't stick it out.
well, no, that wasn't the intent. Basically, it's saying that you can't block pedestrian traffic.
Right.
Can't block, say on corner triangles, the corner triangle, the side vision.
Yeah.
You don't wanna. Let's
Well,
see.
Where is that?
Page 7.
Page 7.
So like in Justin's case, if he had something near his front entrance, that should be fine.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's not in front of the sidewalk, but, I don't typically, we don't get sandwiches or anything, but I was thinking more along like Main Street.
Well,
Like Greenwater, they have their specialty board out by the door.
Right, and Melchers has one too.
Melcher has one too, so it's typically out there in the walking right away, all those things. And are we trying to say that's no longer applicable in our like heavily walked corridor like Main Street, or are we saying?
No, so before these A-frame signs were prohibited. So now we are actually allowing them. Yes.
But I think.
And
that
so
I mean, you still be, as long as you have ADA access.
So how this is stated here currently, and of course it's just conversation, is that, so take Melchers, they are not on a main road, correct? But they do have the pylon sign to advertise their business and such. So the A-frame sign would allow them to advertise on Main Street instead of this street here where their building actually faces. And I apologize, I don't know the name of that street, but that's how is reading currently. So that's why it says not next to the door, whatever, because it was just, if your business is not visible from a main street, then you can put a A-frame on a main street to get them towards your business. That's how I interpreted it.
Well, Melchers is right outside their door, but I think as long as there's at least 3 feet where a wheelchair can get through
Right.
and pedestrians can get by, it would, I mean, I guess ideally 5 feet, but at least minimum 3 feet. It would be okay.
Yeah, so there's obviously like, you can't put in a parking space or.
Right.
Blocking the way.
That.
So we can just,
I can see where on Main Street, there's 3 or 4 different locations.
yeah,
I think the part you got, it said,
On A-frames.
it said shall not be placed in pedestrian pathway, and later said may not obstruct pedestrian traffic. I thought those were 2 separate restrictions. Sorry, you can't go on the sidewalk.
no. I think, yeah, maybe we can just specify that, you know, that they can't block.
Yeah. Well, or not B, sorry, double high says, may not obstruct pedestrian access from the sidewalk or training stop areas designated in parking spaces. But then
Yeah, well, you wouldn't want to
says-
put it right over the pantry.
Exactly. But then one, next up, guys. Thank you. Number 1 says shall not be placed in parking spaces that halfway to bicycle paths. So I was worried that might overlap a little bit. It was like, well, it's out on the sidewalk, it should be on the sidewalk. So.
Well, I think we got the gist of the intent, so we can clean up some of this.
Yeah, so yeah, but you guys, that got me a little bit, I was like, you know, you go to like Texas Traditions, they have a sign on the front that says special of the day, but it's outside.
Right. And they do, they bring it in each.
Right,
It's not.
that's funny. Now, on this time limit you have, looks great, business hours, obviously. Can we apply that to those flag dependent signs as well? I know Ace Hardware does that. They go and they pick up all their little flag signs along HEB.
I mean, it's an idea, but I mean, I know.
There's some liquor stores that do that. They pick up all their signs before they close up. There's other places in town where the flag just sits out there flying all day long. Business hours, open, close, do that. 1, I think it's just bad business. But 2, it does. It can be distracting, it can look terrible. It also adds to the wear and tear of these signs where they're just out there all the time, business closed or not.
Okay, especially something that says open, needs to be taken down.
Right. They're advertising a service or a product that you can't even get in at 5 a.m. That just seems kind of, or like H&R Block has their signs up all day, all night. You know, they're not open 24/7, but they're these just waving signs down the street.
Yeah, it's food trucks. like-
Or something like that, yeah, I think it would be a cleaner way to.
It can't be that big a deal if you have, the receiver in the ground already, and then you just have to go.
That's exactly what they do, but it becomes an issue of these signs are out there in the wind, and then you see them belayed over down the road, and nobody's there to attend to them.
Right.
Which is great.
Okay, yeah, so we're all in favor of this.
Yeah, that sounds most good. I like most of what's on here.
Yeah.
Well, and feel free, I mean, you can keep looking where, we'll try to have something. They are Monday. Probably I need to have something in the packet Thursday, but then again, that's a first reading. So we still have room to make changes until the second.
I did have another one. We defined building frontage, means like an exterior building wall or structure with a single purpose oriented to the public way or the properties. And then we talked about informers, but we double it. So occasionally there's like allowed extra for facing 2 ways. Are we using the front face or are we taking the front and the side face, using the side to apply to the side and front to apply to the front?
Front,
That's
side to
the
side.
intent there. Because
Yes.
I think there's once or twice where it says double or extra. And then when we do the 20 feet, we're restricting to building frontage, not lot frontage, but
But street frontage.
street frontage.
Well,
Because
I mean, they have to be on private property.
Yes,
Right.
but if you
So what would
have
be your lot?
a large parking lot and a small building, are we restricting signs to building size or street size or parking?
Well, that's part of the discussion. You can have, 100-foot wide, lot and have a little snow cone stand there. So,
I think that.
Well, that's what I was envisioning by lot size.
So right here,
Yeah.
on page.
But not, you're not the length of your curve, but your lot.
One lot, so on page 8 of 9, under the pennant signs, number 6. One pennant sign may be allowed for every 20 feet per building.
building frontage.
So if I have
25
an 8-foot snow.
Yeah, this was before your email.
Oh, okay.
If I'm allowed if I have an 8-foot or 10-foot snow cone stand, I'm allowed one sign on a 100-foot lot.
Yeah,
No, I mean, this building frontage is I mean, that would be the front,
The length of
The
any
length of
exterior
the-
building wall or structure.
I will have to apologize. Cody and Sarah and I were emailing this morning
Y'all edited it
and
before
we
we got
got
here.
it. So,
That's why I'm reading these out loud. Look at the thing she's got up here. So did y'all edit that before the meeting or?
well, this is up for discussion.
Yeah.
right,
So we kind of discussed 25-foot spacing.
Yeah.
but I was thinking, and I think this is how Portland is, it's per the lot, not,
I think it should be low.
It says per lot frontage.
yeah, the lot.
I thought there was, if it's 20 foot for building, that's okay, that's something we talked about, but if it's per lot, the number needs to be larger. Because the lots are typically larger. I have a 100-foot front building on a 140-foot property lot.
Okay,
So
well,
there's a difference in the amount of signs I can have.
Yeah, well, but I mean, you go around, like I said, if you, in my thought, trying to figure out. And this maybe where we get this from, that any lot, you can have up to a certain amount. And it's, if we're thinking 25 feet, if we say they're allowed 4 in 100 feet, and then they can have one more every 50 feet or 100 feet after that or something. I'm just trying to capture those around town that are responsibly having 3 or 4 on their lots without any problem, trying to minimize the pushback we get.
Right.
And so if we're okay, I think we're all okay with saying 3, got 3, maybe even okay with 4. And if we
Yeah.
wanted to do that, we say, okay, for the first however many feet, you can have 4. So whether you got a 25-foot lot or up to the maximum, whatever we say, you can have 3 or 4, whatever we say.
Yeah.
Right? But then after that, then one more for every 100 feet a lot or
Yeah.
50 feet or whatever. But there's a minimum number or maximum number you can have that anybody can have up to. So what size of lot?
So we start with just everybody can have 3.
Right,
And
but
then you
up
get
to
100
how much?
Right.
That's for the first 200 feet? Or,
But isn't that where the 25 feet comes in?
Yeah.
Between-
they would be allowed to put 3, the minimum is, and the maximum is 3, but you can have up to a certain lot.
Now we talk about the chart.
now I have a question for discussion. It's what do we do with strip centers?
That was, okay, so that was where I was going back to Ace, because Ace has a building frontage, but they use that little patch of grass out in front at the very end.
So that might have to be limited to building frontage.
Mhm.
That would be they're allowed so much up to,
So like Cricky would be allowed.
well, it's whatever we say. I mean, if we say, if you're allowed
Right.
up to, you can have 3, up to 100 foot of lot size or building frontage for strip center, you can have 3.
And they have to have the 20-foot spacing. So,
I like going back to 25 foot. 25.
Mhm.
25.
That's what I want, but I think it should be lot size instead of building.
Okay, but what about with strips? and-
Strip centers, again, we run into a big problem. If you have all
I
that
think it's
area
gonna have to be something,
specific.
yeah.
Yeah, it can be its own line.
In here, we had something about multi-business sponsors.
Well, either that or, I mean, one thing they could look at strip center, I mean, the strip center got so much. Right,
Yeah, the big sign.
and that's between the leasee and the leaseor who gets, I mean, that's the strip center allowed so many, there's the argument themselves.
But
And we just stay out of that, we just know that
We
that
just
strip
allow
center's
it.
allowed so many,
X amount.
who gets those, that's between the leasee and.
We just find the strips.
Okay.
So we
Got
don't,
any comments?
Talking about-
Jim?
Do what?
we don't-
That would, you know, if the strip center fronts on Highway 35, 500 feet. Then our ordinance dictates that allows 7 or 8,
Yeah.
whatever, however many, and that's what's allowed. Now, whether those are Beijing or if they're Ace Hardware or ATV or whatever, you know, we don't really.
So we're thinking 3 plus 1 per 100 additional. So if you hit,
Well, I mean, I can tell you that there's a few places, if we do limit to 3, like for the first 150 feet.
Yeah.
There's a few places in town that would have 4, and then they're gonna take 1 down. I don't, you know, and so, but if we say, but I don't think they're 100. You know, they're probably 100 foot.
I'm
wide.
thinking, I know like a couple of places that put way too many, and that's just not good anyway, you can't read them all.
But again, based on that 21 per 25 foot, then
You hit 4 and 100.
you could have up to, and you could say 4 within 150 feet, just to kind of up a little bit, and then 1 per every 50 after that, or 100 after that, or whatever.
I'd say one every 50 or 75.
For that, yeah.
Because I imagine when you get to a certain size, you also would just have.
Do this. We got any comments? Get to the gym report first.
yeah,
We can move on. We're spending an awful lot of time talking about that.
that is fair. So yeah, those I think are fine. We can nail down the number, but I think we're on the right track with that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
number 4.
hold on one second. I can't even garage it.
No, we haven't changed, we didn't change anything with that. Well, those are not allowed.
Yeah, right. Verify that, yell at everybody.
And we let them know they come, get permits as well.
I have a box in my dumpster at garage sale arrow that rolled about 4 blocks into the parking lot.
Mhm.
Those garage sales are pretty angry. All right, cool.
Review and discuss the addition of a landscaping ordinance for non-residential and multifamily occupancies.
Okay, and again, the minimum requirements for the scenic city designation is that trees and landscaping along major roadways, city streets, street medians, and in parking lots are required. And so,
All in the room.
yeah, so so putting that in ordinance form, though, you know, and I think you took these from several.
Several, yes, and I looked up a couple of scenic cities. The only one that I can remember, because it was such a different name, was Bee Cave. They were noted as scenic city for landscaping.
Yeah, I also tried to look at ordinances with from cities from close to our area as well, so that way we're getting something from the panhandle or, you know. She was also looking at some of the coastal regions, correct, with landscape.
Well, again, that front there and 2 buildings going in front of Walmart, they're doing a really good job. They're landscaping. I looked at this briefly, I didn't read it in detail. Really insane. There wasn't anything in here I didn't. Just totally disagree.
Yeah, all of this is all news and all of its recommendations up for discussion, so.
We need to have something in place, that's for sure.
There's definitely some nuisance areas that specifically warrant this kind of action. And we had a broad strokes landscape ordinance brought before the planning board years ago. And I went on about an 8-minute tirade about how bad it was and how applicable it was to just everybody's bad day. This seems a lot more. I don't want to say like chill, but this one doesn't seem as restrictive or as difficult to maintain. Most of the stuff is pretty fair. You know, there's even little bits in here for if reasonable consideration prohibits completion of a landscape material temporary certificate of occupancy. So like, we're not gonna hold up a whole business from opening because their trees are running late.
Right.
But they have the plan, they have the money on it, and they've got this stuff, and they can get a temporary relief.
Yeah, like I said, I looked at it briefly. I didn't read it word for word. I just skimmed through it. And I didn't see anything that really gave me heartburn.
Yeah.
I do need to include, we need to look at maybe putting some islands in parking lots, designs type deal. Jody,
Do what?
maybe some islands in the parking lots during the design phase of it, or.
There, yeah, and that's the thing, I mean, yeah, I was looking at, some other ordinances, you know, and actually, and as you get more restrictive, they do require that kind of stuff. It's, I guess it's how much we want to do with this first go around.
Well, the reason why I'm asking is right now, my recommendation is to have a subsurface irrigation for all the landscaping. That'd be kind of difficult to do with islands.
I don't know that we honestly.
they can. There are some cities that require either subsurface irrigation or staying off the faucet with a hose within 75 to 100 feet, something like that.
That maybe we could, I think we're gonna get a lot of pushback if we require.
Subsurface irrigation gave me originally a little bit of like a gut fall, but then reading it seemed pretty reasonable. But
I mean, it is something that's required further to get like a couple levels up. It's not required in the bare bones scenic city, but to get a higher level, yeah, you do. That's why I don't know how much I want to.
Can we get like a subsurface irrigation system that would applicable? Because in here it says what subsurface irrigation. Lost the page. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Page 1.
Is it?
I mean, but I agree that it does, they need, well, and in the ordinance, they need to maintain it for a year.
Yeah.
Well,
However.
and that's the other thing I wanted to talk about was should we put a time frame on it? There are some cities that don't have a time frame. They just have to maintain them. Period.
Well, the ordinance needs to be at least a year, so yeah, it could be always, but.
You know, there's also changes, like what if a company comes in and buys something and they have a different landscape plan? I mean, are we gonna hold them to that original plan because that was the permanent idea there? I mean, we have the ability to edit a plan, but as far as maintenance goes, if the company comes in and goes, these trees are a huge hassle, or these bushes are a little bit much, can we change the plan? That's an edit rather than maintenance probably. But if we allow stuff to get overrun because of lack of maintenance, that's kind of a separate violation, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that.
You need to have it able to revise it because
Yeah.
it might get
Oh
too
yeah,
big.
things change, and like you said, if you start off with a parking lot, change some things.
And I mean, I guess in new construction, I mean, that's, shouldn't be an issue.
But if they want to change it out, all we gotta do is come down here and say, hey, we want to change this out.
Well, what would the difference between the 1 year and the 2 year? Let's say I go to do something and you give me this ordinance.
I've literally seen companies at that 1 year mark quit taking care of their landscape and it just goes They don't water anymore. They don't maintain. Everything dies.
And we don't have any ability to open them to anything after that.
I mean, well, as long as it doesn't cause a public nuisance, they're not in violation, so they can let everything die and just
Yeah.
have mulch there or whatever.
So I mean, I agree, we either probably need to either have irrigation or like you said, something to where they have, water within a certain distance to where they can do with hoses.
So with this, if
And-
you put in indefinite maintenance, you can still go back and go, hey, we originally planted all these trees and all these things, and we're finding that that's just not sustainable. And we'd like to edit our plan.
Right.
You know, there's in here, you can apply to edit your landscape.
Well, and
Right.
because it's a percentage, I mean, they gotta do
Right.
10% of the available that's there, and so
Yeah.
that, we're not really necessarily telling what they have to do, although it's gotta comply or be within.
I'm fine
Plants
with
that-
an indefinite period, because now you expect people to maintain their area, just like you expect houses to maintain their grass. And expect the tree back or the power back for a year, and also you go crazy, you expect a certain amount of maintenance. As long as we don't get too intensive with what we originally require. You know, I don't want to open up a store and a landscape company. Is always my problem. Like, I don't want to have to be like Weaver's Oxford Tree Market and landscape company and have, you know, rose bushes and hedges and oak grove, you know, an orchard in the backyard just to run a convenience store. But I mean, irrigation requirements, you know, maybe we don't require a fully subsurface irrigation system, but there has to be access to the irrigation system within so many feet or something.
75.
75 foot, yeah, I mean, you can get it pretty easy or some buckets. And I don't know, 50, maybe 75 is too much, I don't know, but if we require the maintenance. Or the maintaining of this system, or the maintaining of this landscape indefinitely. I don't really care where they get the water from.
Yeah.
I don't care if they have a
That's the-
5-gallon pickle bucket and a spout in the backyard, as long as the trees are there. Subsurface irrigation just makes it easy. So if we have to have this irrigation system, that's one thing. If we make them maintain those trees and plants and shrubs, I don't care where they get the water from. You know, I don't care if they have an island out in the middle of Walmart's parking lot there, they go water by hand. You know, put a bucket in a shopping cart. So I don't really love the idea of a subsurface irrigation system if we're also requiring them to just maintain those trees. You know what I mean?
Well, it's not just trees, it's bushes and
Bushes and shrubs,
ground
grass,
cover.
But it depends on how strict we want to require them to maintain it.
Right.
I don't know that a subsurface irrigation system becomes like a hardline requirement. Subsurface irrigation system is put in to make it easier after the 1-year mark to not be shitty.
Well, right now, we're not even discussing islands and parking lots.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking her about
Yeah.
Jody about that. But this is basically, this is a
Nice catch.
building frontage.
Yeah.
All right, so we need funds.
Thoughts and recommendation.
Yeah.
The exceptions for the applicability of standards. So existing lots used for existing single family detached or attached dwelling duplexes. We're just saying like, if you got a duplex, we're not gonna require you to turn it into a maintenance thing. If that makes sense. Modifications by 10% or less. That's a pretty standard exception. We have a lot of our ordinances and building codes, right? 10%, good number for it.
Well, that's what we found in other cities.
Okay.
Some are 10, some are 20. It just varies, but just doing bare bones landscaping ordinance right now, I just figure we'll keep it at a minimum.
The redevelopment, substantial improvements, geometry of the site, all that. That just seems like hardship variance, isn't it? The number 3, is that just them? We're saying that if a site comes in and it's just wonky, then it can be exempted from this.
Yeah, it's kind of like the variance with, say, like the manufactured home. If she had some type of reason to why she is not able to do anything but put a manufactured home there, then you could, I mean, that could give you the opportunity to allow for a variance for a situation like that because of undue hardship. This is what it's kind of saying with landscaping.
Is this just like writing the hardship in to make it easier for you to okay stuff?
Right, because they might be building on the beach, let's say, you can't put,
You know, trees and sand.
right.
So this just enables less variance meetings and that just, is this? In which case, the redevelopment committee may approve a lesser landscape requirement. So that just kind of not really subverts, enables us to not have to have a meeting over something simple.
Right, and well, that gives the city manager, city engineer, and the fire chief and the public works, everybody gets together, we discuss everything. This is gonna be part of it as well in the future if this is passed.
Okay, cool. Just want to make
And
sure.
if there is some type of request for a variance, then that committee can, we can work together to do something that might still be appeasable. And, we're kind of meet the intent of the ordinance as much as possible anyway.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm all in favor. Thanks, good. Much needed. All right, anything else on topic number 4?
so we do want to, okay, recommendation is still for the 1 year for the,
I think so.
okay,
Yeah, I'm fine with indefinite or longer terms or, I mean, because in here you have, changes in the landscape plan to be taken to director of development services. Look, I mean, if somebody has something that they need to change up, there's no reason that they can't come in and get additional notes or changes.
right.
If they have a problem with their maintenance or, hey, we need to cut down a bunch of trees and replant them, it's gonna take a little while, sure, that's fine.
Well, and I do that, the same thing with the construction, there might be changes to the original plans for a building.
Yeah.
And so, just make notes on the plans that, I'm approved and move on from there.
Yeah.
At least have it documented.
Yeah.
But
and
yeah, I
just
think
having that series of
since they have-
documentations.
You know, perpetual maintenance on it. Or,
Yeah.
You know, maybe, I don't know if you had something in there that, you know. Well, I don't know, just that, I started to say that if a certain percentage of them die, you gotta at least have so much still alive after. Like the time, but no, you can always replant.
I'm thinking, the stuff I'm thinking is like, you purchase a business or a business goes under and sits for a minute, somebody else buys it, and maybe the original landscape plan was more than the 10% or a little
Right.
bit difficult to maintain. You just come in and you go, hey, look, I've got this different landscape
Yeah.
plan. I mean, it doesn't make sense to have these hedges on the highway. Let me put in some rocks, let me put in a couple of trees off to the side. And you go like, yeah, okay, that's still pretty. It doesn't have to be, a fast growing grass that's beautifully maintained, or it doesn't have to be an orchid garden all the time. When somebody comes in and goes, hey, I have some reasonable accommodations to be made to this. I want to change my plan. And you go, okay, cool. You can have a rock garden, but if it gets over on the weed, that's not maintained. It's not maintained.
Well, the thing is that they're gonna be, presenting a landscape plan.
Yeah.
We'll be approving that landscape plan if it meets the minimum requirements.
Mhm.
Now, if they shut down and they sell the property, say, down and nobody's there for 2 years, and of course, nobody's gonna be able to, and nobody's gonna be maintaining the landscape, so I guess we'll go after the property owner. Ms. Jody?
Be some kind of abandoned landscape.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It would-
Can we put in an abandoned landscape,
Well, I mean, like,
Okay, so that's something else to consider
Fair
that,
enough. I'm glad we got there.
I did email her, a copy of the enforcement and the penalties. It can be more than $500, wasn't it? Did you read it?
Yeah, I thought it was for the signs.
It was for both, actually.
Okay, they weren't labeled.
I went ahead and included a penalties clause in both the ordinances, and basically it's the class C misdemeanor type deal. It's, anything that's any kind of violation of the code of ordinance, basically. But, anyway, that being said, we'll go after the property owner for the violation because he's not maintaining the landscape. But okay, they turn around and sell it to somebody else. They decide they didn't want that landscape. They want something totally different, like you're saying. They'll present another plan
Exactly.
and we'll take a look at it. If it meets minimum requirements and they You have
we
to,
expect indefinite maintenance of whatever plan is active. So I think
Right.
that's a fair assumption there. And like you said, if we just do it for the year and they let everything die, then we're back to a.
yeah, and we're not telling them what type of plants they have to have. There's some cities where they have a list, and you have to have it.
There was one of those given to me one time for review, and I was like, "There's no way I'm doing that." It's
All I recommended was the USDA
Yeah.
recommendations for our region.
and I think the Texas A&M invasive species list, that was about all you had on there.
Mhm.
That's perfect. I want to put nothing but rocks in front of my house. I have a right to do that. You know, I want to bring in crap.
No, you can't, well, in front of your house you can, but not your business.
Not necessarily. No, there's a few more restrictions.
All right. Anything else? Comments
That's
from
all I have.
Comments from the public?
Nothing?
I'd like to ask a question about getting back to the sign. That bill, that department that we're not big years ago, Bill's department.
Yeah.
But it still say Bill, is that?
That would be an event, where is this at?
That's the HEB, has Bill's shoes.
Oh, Wells, okay.
Oh, Bell's, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that would be, I mean, Bell's is no longer there, that would be,
Well, it's part of a sign with the multi-sign, isn't it?
Talking about the HEB market.
It's on the bill, it's on the.
but
Yeah.
really, I
It's on the
mean,
building on
It's on the
top.
building.
really, it
Oh,
should
on the
be,
building.
it should be, well, yeah, that one's on the building, but even the one that's in there, I mean, ideally, it would be, you know, replace it with a clear or white sign or something, but at least those are better than they would bust it out.
No, it doesn't look bad, but it's
Right.
still.
But that's true. I mean, a lot of, I mean, some cities, once the business is gone, they need to remove that sign because the next guy coming in is not gonna be Bell's.
We have that in our ordinance, the requirement typically it'll be in the lease contract for the building. So the strip center would have that. I've got some friends in this, and they say that when you shut down a business in a mall or a strip center, all the point of sale and advertising stuff has to be taken care of at the termination of the lease. So Bell's will be on the hook for removing those. And
But that's what with the city, that's what they're,
well, but if we require that in ordinance that is each done.
Well, Sarah and I were discussing this last week, and she did find in state law where it was after a year, 2 years.
2 years.
2 years. If a sign is abandoned for 2 years, from a rental property, then it has to be removed.
Right.
And that's according with state law.
State law.
Well, and like I was saying, I know a lot of the times if we have something written down or if there's something in there about the requirement in the city or the county that you're in,
Mhm.
then it incentivizes the leasers to put it in their lease agreements that the company, when leaving, remove rental stuff.
Mhm.
So we would kind of be able to kind of put that out there, and then those companies like the strip center would be able to go, when you stop renting from me, you're responsible for removing your signs. So something to incentivize them, if we do have that misdemeanor requirement, we go after the property owner, property owners will be more vigilant about their tenants when they leave. So.
All right, anything else to say, folks?
One more thing.
One more thing, that's 2 things. Yeah, 3 minutes.
I have a utility trailer, 15-foot utility trailer. Am I allowed to put a campaign sign on there right around the end of it?
That's politics, so.
yeah, I think,
We
Is that
don't.
different or?
Mm.
I don't think we,
Yeah, there's nothing on there.
Right.
Political sign, though.
Okay, so I'm okay with that.
I think you can do it.
I mean, just temporary.
Yeah, I mean, you can have like, stuff on the side of the thing. I think our biggest problem is you can't go and like park it on a highway or leave it abandoned.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you can't have a broke down truck that says, John's Electric Service sitting in a lot off to the corner. That's
In lieu of a
in
freestanding
lieu
sign.
of an actual sign. So I've seen some places before that have they'll have like a small bus broken down, spray painted with something on there, going like, oranges here or something, and it's like, that's not legal.
I will mention that that political signs are not allowed to be on public right of way as well.
Yeah, you
Just
couldn't
keep
park
that in mind.
you couldn't park that trailer on the street.
What's that?
Supposed to be on private property, not in the right of ways.
So in other words, next to the curb,
I'm not gonna park it.
what, I'm talking about even the temporary signs.
Oh, yeah, I'm good at that.
You gotta
Okay.
put that on the sign. Our code's gotta be on.
Okay. Anything else on the phone?
We got a minute and a half left.
I'm good.
Motion adjourned.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good to meet you. Adjourn. Oh, thank y'all very much.
Yeah, I got, we're doing 10. I think that's our